If you or your loved ones have watched NC State in the year of our Lord 2024, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to your Saturday evening post-game live. NC State embarrassingly loses to the ECU Pirates by a score of 26-21. This post-game live is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in with the regular season action because FanDuel right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 back in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started. Saturday night, post-game live. This is probably the most dreadful of one of these that we've had to do all season long. They went and lost the bowl game that you could not afford to lose. NC State loses to the ECU Pirates in the Military Bowl in Annapolis, Maryland by a score of 26-21. Kenton, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have much to say. I'm at a complete loss of words. I am painfully numb at the outcomes of this season. This was supposed to be one of the most talented rosters that NC State has ever put together under Dave Doeren, and they finish with a record of 6-7, and they lose in the bowl game to the ECU Pirates. What else is there to point?
I mean, you've watched games this season, Grayson. Is there anything we saw today that has not been a problem in perpetuity?
It's been the same issues, game in, game out, and it reared their ugly head again to finish the year.
For those of you who don't know, in perpetuity means forever. It means a problem is unending. And in terms of unending, I mean from the start of this season forward, have we not seen every single problem? The first thing that we saw in this game, NC State's offense can move the ball so well between the 20s. Between the 20s, we can move it like nobody's business. Our last drive ends on ECU's 24. Our first drive ends on ECU's 24. Our second drive ends on ECU's 16. And how many points did we come away with both of those drives with, Grayson? 0. Well, you know what? Offense was young this year. The defense, I'm sure, did better. The defense, I'm sure they cleaned up all of those, the rough run fits that we saw from earlier in this season, right? It couldn't be a situation where a young man having the longest run of the game, as a matter of fact, no, not this game, the longest run of his season. As a matter of fact, no, that's incorrect as well. The longest run of Mr. Harris's career. The low in this game. It's I don't know if I just cut out there, but the longest run, not just of this game, not just of this season, the longest run of Mr. Harris's career came in this game. 86 yards, all the way to the house. It's, at a certain point in time, we are who we are. Things are what they are. And at the end of the day, I'm glad to say good riddance to this season. I mean, this was just a season rife with disappointment. And even the silver linings that we want to take away, it's hard to even take those away. It's hard to even say, man, we've got all these guys coming back and they look really good, because they do. But then you ask yourself, well, what are we doing in terms of how we're using guys? Grayson and I screamed all year, Hollywood needs to get the lion's share of the carries. That's it. Point blank, period. And what did he do when he got the lion's share of the carries today?
He only averaged over 10 yards per touch, if that was not enough for anyone.
Interesting. And yet, when the time came and we're in 4th and short with the opportunity to put the game away, instead of saying, hey, listen, our big guys are going to be more physical than their big guys. I'm going to get my heavy package out. I'm not going to get cute. We're going to be determined to move you. since y'all keep using that gif of y'all stopping Demi Sumo, who ain't even here no more, from about 2-3 years ago, we'll go ahead and put up a new gif of us getting the yard that we need to close out this game. What do we do instead? Oh, hickory dickory. Here's some more Robert and I trickery on 4th and 1. You know, so I mean, I look at this game and I say, this is the season's problems that we've seen all year. You and I had a touch counter for Jolie. Granny was in the cage. Apparently, we freed her too soon because in this game, I'm sitting up here screaming. They don't have nothing for Jolie. I believe he was targeted, 2 times today?
I think it was 3, but he wasn't targeted at all until almost the end of the third quarter. That's pathetic.
That's my point. And what came of those 3 targets? 1 completion, that was a big catch for, 15 yards or so, the touchdown, and the incompletion, I believe. I'm fine with those 3 outcomes of attempts. So, we saw the same things that we saw all season. Misuse of really good talent. We saw defense struggle to tackle, taking terrible angles. We saw defense with a lack of gap discipline once again, and you get what you get.
Real quickly, before we get deeper into the weeds of this game, I want to talk about this here comment that's now on the screen. It's from W, and it says, I don't care what anyone says. ECU is not our rival. Now, in most cases, I believe this to be true. However, because Dave Doran and NC State did not treat ECU like a rival, you got beat by an inferior team that has no business being on the same field as you. ECU wanted this game more than NC State did. It was apparent from the word go. You could see it immediately as soon as the game was kicked off in Annapolis, Maryland. ECU wanted to win this game. And I know everyone jokes, oh, this is ECU Super Bowl and NC State doesn't think about ECU. That's all true, but there was still a football game to be won here. And NC State had no real interest early in this game in doing so. And for that, this is the result that you get. You lose in embarrassing fashion, and ECU gets to talk whatever kind of junk they want for the next 8 months. And there's nothing we can do about it. You'll get another chance at them in August, but until then, they're going to run up the score on NC State because they won this game, and they earned it. NC State blew it tonight. Dave Doran blew it tonight. Robert and I blew it tonight. Freddie Autry-Lindsay, I'm sorry to call him out, blew it tonight. This whole team absolutely squandered this opportunity, and it is a complete and utter embarrassment to this fan base. There is no world in which NC State should lose this game. ECU, I had tweeted this over the course of the night, ECU lost to Charlotte, the 49ers, Charlotte, by 31 points this year. And sure, they seem to be a different team now than they were then, but that's still ECU. They lost, I think it was like 10 plus players to the portal or to injury that could not play in this game. And they looked like the team that they were retaining all of their top talent. Not us, but they did. They wanted it more. And that is so entirely frustrating. Like, if you're Dave Doran and you are NC State, how do you answer that? How do you answer to that? How does ECU come out and look like the team that wants to win and deserves to win? How in the year 2024, in year 12 of this tenure, how is that the case? That is an abomination. And that's the reason I really don't have much to talk about tonight. I'm so embarrassed. I truly just don't even know what to say. That was a ridiculous loss. It's one of the worst losses I've seen in quite some time from NC State. And it's a shame the amount of instances we keep having to pull out and say, was that a top 5 loss? It might be. Is that a top 3 loss? Yeah, that's pretty close. What are we doing? How does this keep happening? Kenton, I'll pass it back to you. I'm losing my mind over here.
We got to go to break here. We got to pay some bills. Yeah. But before we do, I just want to say one thing. That whole we're not rivals, whatever the case may be, I'm not a big proponent or believer in that. If you don't like me, I don't like you. I don't care if you're a little brother. everybody in the city of Detroit knows that, Cass Tech's actual rival is those bums on East Lafayette. However, when Renaissance wanted to step up and say, oh, we're your actual rivals. Okay, sure. We're going to treat you like we treat our rivals. Says you want to get in on it, you ask for the smoke, I'm going to bring you a barbecue. We did not bring out the smoker today. We said, oh, that team, they're just so. And again, I am left looking at this team, and I am not upset or disappointed in this loss in as meaningful of a way as most people, because the things that I had seen all season reared their head again. This was the first bowl game that I picked wrong all year, by the way. Go ahead. If you watch Locked On ACC, I picked all of them right, except this one, because I thought to myself, oh, they've got more guys in the portal than us. We're the more talented team on paper. We should be able to get this thing done. And lo and behold, you get what you get. The problems reared their ugly head once again. And I will say this, and we're going to send it to break. With all of the turnover that's coming to this coaching staff, especially defensively, this crap needs to be cleaned up, period. And I'll explain to you why it's so embarrassing that we haven't had that cleaned up after the break.
Yeah, our first post-game live sponsor is Gametime. Gametime is focused on togetherness this holiday season, and that means when you bring people together at live events. The experience is just that much better, and it serves as the perfect gift. Gametime has the new feature called Gametime Picks, and it makes getting tickets to all of your favorite live events easier than ever before. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, and you won't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The curation of Gametime Picks makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, you name it, they got it. Toggling the all-in pricing feature on the app will show your total upfront, so you receive zero surprises at checkout. And as always, you get that panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect upon arrival. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, create an account and use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? You already know. It's game time. All right, middle portion of our Saturday evening post-game live. NC State completely squanders away the Military Bowl to the ECU Pirates, 26-21. Kenton, I'll let you roll right back into the point you were making. The defensive staff coming into this game. Obviously, Tony Gibson moved on to take the Marshall head coaching job, and the interim coach for this game was Freddie Autry-Lindsey. And the defense looked like Swiss cheese. If you are currently drinking something, I encourage you to go ahead and spit it out, because if you don't, you will spit it out when I'm about to read what I read. ECU ran for 326 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I can't even count how many times those came on 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and longer than 10. And ECU converted time after time after time. If this was a tryout for Coach FAL, I don't know if he's getting the part.
Yeah. And when I talk about, oh, this is what happened or that's what happened in terms of why it's so embarrassing that NC State didn't clean certain things up in terms of, oh, this is a play that we just can't seem to stop. Well, I watched that running play by Harris again. I rewatched it a couple times. I watched it live and I rewatched it on ESPN a couple times. And do you know what play we got beat by in this game? It was the same play we got beat by against Wake Forest. Take a wild guess as to the running scheme, Grayson. Take a wild guess.
Was the lack of a spy and the QB runs for the first down?
Oh, no. I'm saying take a wild guess on what the offense ran that we could not stop against both Wake Forest and today.
What, a form of mesh?
Inside zone.
Oh.
Inside zone. Now, for any of you who have coaches in your life, you probably just cringed a little bit. For those of you who don't, I'm going to tell you why you should be cringing. You see, inside zone is what we like to call day one, play one. What does that mean? When you go into camp, before you learn anything else, that is the first thing you learn. Inside zone is like the ABCs of an offensive playbook if you are a zone scheme instead of a gap scheme. If you're a gap scheme, it may be dive, it may be power, something along those lines. But in general, if you're a zone scheme, inside zone is the first play. On the first day of install, I kid you not, every single year that I played at NC State, let's take it back. Every single year that I played at Cass Tech, let's take it back even further. Every single year I played for the West 7 Rams Little League team. Every single year. The first play that we learned how to run and that we learned how to stop is inside zone. And yet, we had inside zone with a tight end insert against Wake Forest be a play that we just couldn't figure out. We just couldn't figure out how to get in our gaps. We just couldn't figure out, well, if an offensive lineman has pushed you in this direction, what gap should everybody be in? We could not figure it out again today. Inside zone, the simplest day one, play one install there is. But this, to me, says that we lacked the fundamentals in terms of starting at 101 and building on top of that.
All year long.
Because we don't learn how to say words like expeditious before we learn that A makes an ass sound, B makes a bus sound, C makes a cuss sound. We skip somewhere in the steps because 101, English 101 is kicking our ass. Day one, play one is kicking our ass time and time and time again. So, this is just a game where you've got to sit up here and understand that anybody who says fans don't have a right to be angry is lying to you. Anybody who says, oh, well, there were all these circumstances, ECU had all of the negative drawbacks of today's game impact them more than NC State did. You could say, oh, well, KC was out. Was KC our leading receiver all season? No. He's our second leading receiver, and don't get me wrong, he's a hell of a receiver. Best luck to him wherever he goes. But I don't think that that's enough to say that compensates for multiple guys from ECU who played meaningful ball leaving. So, this was a disappointment. And even worse than the day one install thing not happening, we continue to wet the bed in the red zone. We continue. We continue to do it. Grayson, if we would have scored field goals on the first two attempts we had in the red zone, how many points would we have finished the game with?
27.
How many points did ECU score in this game, Grayson?
26.
I'm not even asking for touchdowns. I'm not even saying, hey, when you get to about that 25-yard line in, I need 6. I'm saying get me something. Get me some damn thing. Because did we not see this earlier against Syracuse? 3 times in the red zone, and how many points did we come away with in our first 3? Overall in that game, we were in the red zone 6 times and scored once or twice. You see the things that you see being problems that had plagued us all year long. And it just didn't stop. It didn't stop today.
Something I want to talk about on the offensive side, you talked about the defense not being able to stop inside zone. The offense, our best play all night long, it's going to come as a shock to people, was Hollywood Smothers running outside zone. In fact, that has been one of the most successful plays we have run all season long. And it worked in the beginning of this game. Hollywood Smothers, I think first half, didn't he have like 86 rushing yards or something like that?
Yep.
He was dicing them up. His first carry of the night was outside zone, and it went for 12 yards. That set the tone, but somehow we're not prioritizing Hollywood, even now still. He was technically the second big re-sign from 24 to 25 after CJ Bailey, which signifies that the staff understands how big of a weapon he is. And yet, we still are not utilizing him the way that he should be utilized. You saw front and center, yet again, when you put the ball in his hands and you scheme him to success, he will show you success. He will be the best player on the field. And this furthers my point. Hollywood Smothers, I don't know if you know this, Kenton, did not touch the ball in the entirety of the third quarter. Explain this to me like I am a child, like I am a toddler that is still in kindergarten. How does your best offensive weapon outside of, well, tonight Noah Rogers was good and Justin Jolie is Justin Jolie. He's a freak. Outside of those two guys, how does Hollywood Smothers not be put into more positions to do what he did at the end of the game? How? How? It's preposterous. And again, we've said this the whole season. We saw in game one, when we played Western Carolina, when you gave the ball to Hollywood Smothers, there was a visible burst. There was a visible difference between Hollywood Smothers and any other back you have on the roster. We are still here in game 13 of the season, asking why is Hollywood Smothers not being utilized correctly? And to this, well, I guess in their defense, he did have the most touches. He did have the most carries tonight. He had, 170-something odd yards and a touchdown. That's fine. However, I don't mean this to be disrespectful. Jordan Waters getting 4 carries tonight. Why? Kendrick Raphael, if you need a change of pace back, he can do that. I don't know why you're bringing Jordan Waters in the game in the third quarter when Hollywood Smothers has obliterated ECU up until that point. That doesn't make sense to me. CJ Bailey, and I thought CJ Bailey had a good game tonight. Even the interception at the very end, I wouldn't even put that on him.
Absolutely.
CJ Bailey played a tremendous game, and he picked up a lot of hard-earned yards tonight that made a difference when it mattered. The amount of QB runs, designed QB runs, is still baffling to me. QB draws on 3rd and 6. For what? For what? Not only is it not a general high rate of success, but again, I struggled this point early in the season. If CJ Bailey gets hurt on one of these QB runs, you're screwed. That's game. That's ball game right there. I don't understand when you have all these other weapons that you have, again, gone to prioritize in bringing back from 24 to 25, and you still don't use them. What kind of confidence does that show to all the rest of us that anything's going to change when you're looking at 2025? And I think that'll probably transition our conversation here just a little bit. I don't know what exactly we should be expecting when you retain the majority of this roster and you take them into 2025, because also you're retaining the majority of your coaching staff. You lose Tony Gibson, you lose a couple of those assistants, but Robert and I, as of right now, is still employed and likely to be our offensive coordinator in 2025. Dave Doran, although he is disappointing us in a large fashion, under contract, he will be with us in 2025. What should we think about how things will change? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. What should we expect to take from this season that will all of a sudden be massively successful in 2025? I don't see it. I'm confused. I'm at a loss of words. I am in shock. I cannot believe how quickly, I wouldn't even say fall off, because to fall off, you had to actually be somewhere significant. But from 2021 to 2023 to now, this is a steep drop off, not just from expectations, but just the on-field product. It has suffered so severely in just a calendar year and a half. I don't know how they expect everything to just kind of be fixed, magically solved as you go into 2025. And I think that's where a lot of the conversation revolves around the coaching staff. Are there going to be a lot more changes here in these next couple weeks? I don't know. I would not argue against any of them. I can promise you that. But this coaching staff and this program, they need a major come to Jesus here after this game.
You asked what are the expectations for next year, and I saw some people posting the partial schedule that's up with who's the home games, who's away, and all that, and saying what they think our ceiling and our floor is. And I'll tell you right now what my expectations are. Ceiling 8-4, floor 6-6, maybe 5-7.
That should be the base level.
And I say that because this is, how differently am I supposed to feel here? how differently than potential 6-6 am I supposed to feel? Don't get me wrong. I know CJ Bailey's going to get a year bigger, a year stronger. All these guys going to get, bigger, stronger. They're going to understand the system better, all that. Cool. There's only one problem. Even with that, like you said, if the coaching staff is still the same, how do we trust that you're going to use a bigger, stronger, more talented versus these guys in the correct way? I'm going to take away CJ Bailey's 2 times he was sacked. I'll take those away, okay? He ran the ball 9 times. Out of those 9 times, do you want to know what his longest rush of the day was?
Like probably 7 or 8, maybe.
Correct. 8 yards exactly.
Yeah.
Again, Hollywood Smothers was averaging more than that by himself.
Yes.
So what are we on about? What are we on about? When we are sitting here saying, oh, well, we didn't succeed the first time we went for it on 4th and 1. Okay, so either punt the ball, or if at first you don't succeed, try again. Yeah. Why do you feel the need to get cute on 4th and 1?
Preposterous.
What are we doing there? And defensively, I mean, listen, I would hope that we see Elijah Groves be an impact guy that's like, hey, he's an all ACC guy right out the gates. But at that point, what we are now hoping, banking, and depending on is a guy that has not played a meaningful snap of football all of a sudden turning into an all-conference guy in a Power 5 conference or Power 4 conference.
Yeah.
What are the odds? What is the likelihood? So I look at this situation, and when you ask me what are my expectations for next year with all this talent coming back, to me, this team doesn't have a talent issue, because you can't tell me. I can name multiple losses we took this year where there is not a doubt in my mind. If you take apart the whole and you say, hey, this is who this guy is, this is what we saw. NC State wins multiple matchups like that.
Yeah.
This game, on paper, you're better than ECU. Wake Forest, on paper, you are better than them. On paper, Western Carolina, on paper, you don't need a 4th quarter surge to pull away from them. Tennessee, on paper, they are not 50 points better than you.
Yeah.
But when you use, it doesn't matter how I give you, what tools I give you. I could give you the greatest blender there ever was. If you can only use it like a food processor, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. I could put Gordon Ramsay in your house and tell him, hey, you got to cook Grace's food. If you say, actually, I want him as a cleaner, it does not matter. And that's what we're seeing. Justin Jolie not being prominently featured. You're misusing your tools. CJ Bailey being used as a primary runner so often. I know that they said that young man is 210 pounds. They're lying. They're liars. It's a lie. It's a trick. It's always been a trick. He's nowhere near that. And even if he was, do I want the only quarterback that I have left that I think he'll be a meaningful player here running the ball that much in a bowl game? No. So it's at the end of the day, if you use Thor's hammer as a paperweight, I don't know what to tell you, right? Like, Mjolnir has better purposes, but if you I needed to hold down these files, that's what it's going to do. That's just what it's going to do. And time again, we see that the players that we have are being used in that way, that it's like, well, hell, if that's what you're going to use them for, that's what you're going to use them for. But it's ultimately extremely disappointing to see.
Yeah, I'm going to get into our second ad read here before our final couple minutes. That is sponsored by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, and it's not too late to get in on the regular season action. All of this is on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if that first pesky $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many different ways for you to pick up the W, including which player scores a touchdown, how many points each team will score, the spread, the over-unders, all of that and more on FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com in order to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 back in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Last couple of minutes here of our Saturday evening post-game live. NC State loses the Military Bowl by a score of 26-21 to the ECU Pirates. Something else I wanted to talk about. In the last couple of weeks, Dave Dorn and the coaching staff had really preached about some of the younger players in the system, the Ronnie Royals and the Jonathan Paylors and the Isaiah Groves. Did anyone see any single one of them tonight? I don't recall seeing a single one of our young players that is really supposed to be something as soon as this year. And that is concerning to me because when a guy like KC goes out the door and you think about the athlete and the capabilities that one Jonathan Paylor has, and you hear Dave Dorn these last couple of weeks, he's really gotten better as a football player. We're impressed with what we're seeing. We're excited what we're seeing. How does he not get any work tonight? And maybe that happens because you fall very quickly in a hole to ECU, and so you kind of scramble around and have to win the game. But these bowl games can be such a massive springboard for your program. And I heard this sentiment on one of the bowl games these last couple nights. A lot of coaches view a bowl game as the first game of the next season. And I love that approach because when you have the new players in, even the newest signed freshmen that can practice with the team and they're on the squad, it is kind of a semblance of a new team. And so when you have these younger players that you want to make contributions as soon as next year, if they didn't get on the field this year, I'm struggling to come to grips with the fact that they didn't see any time tonight. In fact, we just kind of rolled the same squad out there tonight, and we had the same, painstakingly breathtaking away results that we had over the course of the season. Same weapons, not using them effectively, and we're just banging our head into a wall, snap after snap after snap. That is also concerning to me because, again, if you use this bowl game correctly, it should be a springboard into next year. And I think that's ironic because not only do you lose to ECU tonight, but you got to play them again in game 1 of 2025. And you just kind of handed them all the momentum. For NC State fans, the majority of us expected to win tonight. And you should expect to beat ECU. You should expect to beat ECU. I know they hate us and we hate them. I know it's a bowl game. They don't exactly mean all that much. That doesn't matter. You should beat ECU. And the fact that you didn't, now it's like, well, what kind of confidence should we have that we're going to beat them to start the 2025 season? They're going to be just as fired up for that one as they were tonight. If NC State cannot find a way to change that mental philosophy and come out of the gates on fire, like every game is a rivalry game, that's a big problem. And Dave Dorn preaches about culture. And for the most part, I think the culture that's been built has been great. There has been a really good buy-in with the younger players and the leaders of this program that have been something to be proud of. But one of my biggest gripes, and maybe it's not such a culture gripe, but more of a philosophical gripe, you got to come out of the gates like your hair is on fire. This whole wait till the fourth quarter thing, I've had enough of it. And I could almost set my watch to the way NC State was playing tonight. I was like, well, we're getting nothing done offensively in the first and or second quarter. Where have I seen this before? Oh, I don't know. Half of the season that we witnessed this year when miraculously we looked good on offense in the fourth quarter and we scored 20 plus points. And it almost probably should have happened again tonight. Enough of that. You need to be physical and aggressive and relentless from the first snap of the game, not the last 20 snaps of the game. The sluggish start, we've seen it time after time after time again. It comes back to bite you where the sun don't shine. And it did again tonight. Things have got to change in this coming offseason.
I mean this very genuinely when I say this, and this is not hyperbole from me. If the fans are upset, if the fans are apathetic, if the fans have decided, you know what, I'm done with this product until something changes, how can you be mad at them? How can you be mad at
Can't
the
blame
fans?
anyone.
How can you say anything about the fans when this is the product we're putting out? And that's just the reality. That's just the reality. Again, I'm not sitting here and saying, hey, we deserve this win. It was taken away from us or something like that. No, ECU deserved this win. They wanted it more. They want again. I have never, baby. I'm from the west side of Detroit. Maybe it's a little different down here, but I've been in Raleigh long enough to know a lot of y'all share the same values as me. Where if somebody really don't like you, you don't like them back.
Yes.
We ready to roll now. I'm your rival. Okay, we rivals then, and we gonna get into it. Let's get into it. Let's get it going. I didn't see that type of energy. I didn't see that type of urgency. I didn't see it at all. We are looking at a graduating class that has never won a bowl game in the red and white. At some point in time, something has to change. At some point in time, Doran has to change his countenance when it comes to these types of games. Because again, what are we doing here if it's always an excuse? Oh, well, we had a lot of opt-outs this year. Oh, well, we just ran into a buzzsaw this year. Oh, well, we just ran into this year. At some point in time, don't nobody want to hear about the damn labor pains. Just show folks the baby. That's what people want to see. The wins, the product on the field looking good. A team that looks like this game means everything to them. And for me, it's just another one of those moments. And now we got Tar Heels fans in the comments. Ain't that so interesting? Like I've always said.
How ironic is that?
You scratch an ECU fan, a Tar Heel bleeds every time. But anywho, in all seriousness, I mean this with everything that's within me. This team going into next year, they cannot go in with the same attitude, the same comments and all that. When you talk about expectations for next year, I can't place it anywhere beyond a bowl game. Maybe, a 7-win bowl game next year, tops, until otherwise is proven. They can reset my expectations in real time. But right now, based on what I saw from this season, I'm not, people talk about they saw Paylor for one play. I don't think our receiving core was bad enough to warrant like, hey, I'm confused. There was a group that once again played in a way that I said, hey, that Groves kid can't be this bad. I know he can't be this bad. He can't be worse than what I'm watching on the field. But it is what it is. Again, this game right here, like you said, Grayson, bowl games are often looked at as game one in the next season. Well, luckily we get a little get back for game 2, hopefully.
Keyword is hopefully. But yes, I mean, what a disappointing beginning now of the official offseason for NC State. Horrible loss. You're still going to have to go into the portal and add some more things to this 2025 roster. Of course, we'll talk a whole lot more about that in the upcoming weeks. But this one's sour, and ECU fans are going to revel in it. There's really nothing we can do about it. They won the game. They earned the right to, talk trash. It is what it is. This is what happens.
Hey, Tar Heel fans, shut your ass up, though. ECU fans, y'all can talk y'all talk. Dirty foot clubbers, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Then we send your man's packing. Go get your lick back. Go get your lick back for Matt. Well, watch your mouth. ECU, y'all can talk y'all talk. Y'all learned it.
Yeah. Dirty foot clubbers talking after they got bottom fed by the UConn Huskies today. That is real comedy. But yeah, I mean, NC State, this is we're in the pit. We're in the dark place. It's a horrible loss. You go into the offseason with way too many questions. And perhaps because you have so many questions, you already have those answers. We don't know yet. Horrible loss, disappointing end to a disappointing season. Obviously, a whole lot more to chat about in the upcoming weeks. We'll be right back at you on Monday. Our small little holiday hiatus is now over. We certainly hope that everyone enjoyed their holidays with their loved ones. We'll see you right back here on Monday for more. So until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.